So today I'm on with Ron G. We're getting to know him a little bit better, not only because he's coming to the Comedy House this weekend, but because I think it's really dope. You know, of course, if you want to go see a comedy show, you'll just buy the tickets and go see the show because you want somebody to make you laugh. But I want to get to know him a little bit more because there is so much more to him than just the comedy that you'll see this weekend at the Comedy House. So I learned that you are actually from Columbia, right?
Born and raised Columbia, South Carolina, Bluff Road 48, if you will.
Come on, y'all better share this if you're from 48. Don't play.
Hey.
So you're a comedian, an actor, a writer, a host. You've won an Emmy. How does all of that feel coming from Columbia? And what kind of credit do you give to your roots?
I feel like Columbia is a great place to grow up, man, because like it's just very family oriented. I feel like my neighbors helped raise me. You know what I'm saying? Also, just Columbia is one of those places where we don't meet strangers. If you meet my parents, like they'll curse each other out, be like, "Your little friend Beezy want something to eat." All right, and then they'll fix you something to eat, and then keep cursing each other out like it never happened. But part of my style of comedy too is you'll feel like you know me because I'm very personal, I'm very vulnerable, which most people don't do a lot these days. And yeah, man, Columbia was a dope place because that's where I figured it all out. Like God gave me the tools when I lived in Columbia. I used to dance. I had a bunch of friends. Just that's how you figure out your personality in your childhood. And I didn't know that a lot of my childhood things translated to me making money. Like I did a TED talk at USC about making your weirdo work for you. And part of me as a kid, because I was the baby, I feel like the baby in the household is usually the weirdo. A lot of the things that made me a weirdo now make me money in comedy. You know what I'm saying? One example I used when I did my TED talk was like when I was a kid and we used to roast each other growing up. So when somebody roasted me, I could do their voice and roast them doing their voice roasting me, if that makes any sense at all. And now that thing makes me money and it's a part of my acting.
And you didn't even need content. All you had to do was regurgitate what they said.
Man,
Come on,
man,
that's
every
right
day.
there.
And I grew up, my parents was hilarious too. Like both of my parents, like I didn't have self-esteem issues because my parents roasted me more than anybody else. And so, like I had the same size head since I've been two, and don't laugh too hard. But my mom used to roast me and be like, Bishop Hetty Long or Hetty Murphy. And then I go to school, somebody try to roast me, and I'm like, you can't kill me, I'm already dead.
I know that's right. Out of everything that you've done, what is your favorite, or what thing do you love the most? Because we God may give us several talents, and though we can do those things, it don't mean we really love them, right? So, of the
Yeah.
writer and the actor and the host and the comedian, which of those things, which of those titles do you think you're more in love with, more passionate about?
Probably comedy. Comedy is literally my first love. Like I was groomed to be a stand-up comedian. I didn't know it as a kid, and I think as a kid I always heard like, man, you should be on Comedy View, you should be on Def Jam. I didn't know because in Columbia, a small town, like you don't really dream. You didn't know that dreams are real. When I moved to LA, I'm like, oh, I can make a living doing this. You know what I'm saying? So comedy is definitely my first love. And I've always had it. I just didn't know that once you learn the structure, like it's a format, like doing radio, like there's a structure. Once you learn the structure and add your season to it, that's what makes it special.
Talk about that leap of faith. So when you finally decided, I'm leaving
Whew.
Columbia and going to LA, because I've never lived in LA, but I've visited there. And when you hear about LA, you hear all these beautiful things, right? And all these beautiful stories. But one thing that I discovered upon visiting is there are a lot of people there whose dreams died in LA, and a lot of people homeless. I have a friend from Columbia who actually lived in her car for a year because she got out there and it just didn't hit right away. So what was that experience for you?
So the day I graduated from USC, I moved to Atlanta because I knew I wanted more, but I didn't know what more was. And I moved to Atlanta, and I remember moving to Atlanta, and I got fired from my first job out of college, which is a very devastating thing because I was the first one on both sides of my family to graduate from college. And to get your first job, you have this pride about yourself. You like, I did everything right and it didn't work. What happens next? And I remember during that time, I went through what I call the quarter life crisis, where you go to school for something, but your heart tells you there's more, but you don't know what it is. And my cousin was a comic in Atlanta. He was like, bro, you hilarious, man. You ever thought about getting on stage? And he challenged me to go to Apollo night uh, at this club called Uptown Comedy Club in Atlanta. It was a bunch of dope dealers and strippers ready to boo you. And I got on stage and I had one joke and it was trash. And they started booing me. And while they booed me, the boo was okay. They told me to kill myself. And something about a room full of people telling you to kill yourself, do something to your self-esteem. But that was the moment where I literally felt like I fell in love. Because I'm like, I know I'm good at this, but I'm gonna figure out the craft. I'm gonna figure out how to do it, because the people, like even you doing radio, you already know. You'll see people before you became who you are. Like I know I'm better than them. And there's a confidence that comes along with like the journey of, oh, I know I'm better than them. Part of it is confidence. The second is, again, learning the fundamentals. And I stuck with it. Within 8 months. I got my first standing ovation. And then I felt like God told me, hey, you're going to be a great comedian one day. What are you going to do about it? And I was at a place where I felt like I was good at a lot of stuff, but I was great at nothing. And comedy was the thing I was good at, but I didn't know how to make it a career. So I felt like God opened the door for me to move to LA. I had a frat brother who went to Clemson. I went to Carolina. I knew about him, but I never met him. And for some reason, when I went to go visit um, Cali, I met him and I was like, "Hey, bro." He's like, "What you doing out here?" I was like, "Well, I just got a job over the phone. They've been holding it for like 2 months. I'm looking for a place to stay." He was like, "Where are you trying to stay at?" I was like, "Well, my job is in Culver City." He was like, "That's crazy. I just bought a condo in Culver City. You can stay with me. I won't even charge you half." The job was a mile away from where he stayed at, like a mile away. And I just felt like that was God winking at me when I got to LA. And so LA is a place where, again, like you can charge $3,000 rent for a single bedroom, less than 500 square feet in LA because your dream is attached to it. Kind of like Vegas. Vegas is built off losers. Vegas ain't built off winners. LA is the same way. And there's something about being consistent and preparation meeting opportunity that changes everything. And again, like people that are good at what they do, they make it look easy. And man, I've been doing this for 15 plus years. Just my head down. I'm like, I don't have a plan B. I'm never going back home. I'm never moving back home because this is where my dream is. I feel more alive when I'm around creative people. And God has blessed me enough to be able to take care of my wife and my newborn. And, I'm debt free, student loan paid off. I'm
Come
a
on.
homeowner doing what I love for a living. Like nobody tell you that you can do it. You don't have to go to a job you hate. I literally do what I love for a living. And I'm so blessed, man.
But there had to be hiccups along this journey. So you didn't just, get booed in Atlanta and something, a switch flipped, and then all of a sudden you did amazing. Were there times where you were in LA and something just didn't connect and it looked like maybe it wasn't going to be what you thought it would be? Though you said you've always, had a plan A and never intended on coming back home. Was there any time that you questioned that?
Absolutely. So I feel like when I lived in Atlanta, God was preparing me for LA because I was broke the entire time I lived in Atlanta. I call it he was getting me unaddicted to the check. I feel like most 9 to 5ers, we're addicted to a check. So when you don't get a check on Friday, you feel like your life gonna fall apart. So when I finally moved to LA, I remember I had a friend. I got a job as an accountant in Long Beach. I used to be an accountant, finance degree from University of South Carolina. But I worked in Long Beach for about 2 months at an accounting firm. And my friend was like, "Hey, I got a friend who's an agent and she's looking for new clients. Are you open to signing with her?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So she had an audition for me. And I had to lie to my boss because I just got on my job, didn't have no vacation time. I told her my car broke down. I need to go to this audition. The audition was for Checkers and Rally's Restaurant, which is a hamburger spot on the East Coast, or whatever. And my biggest fear is reading in public because I talk really fast and I process fast. So even as a kid, my thing reading in public always been a thing, right? So I remember going into audition. I lied to my boss, told her my car broke down, and there was a guy in there. It was a two-person spokesperson gig. The guy there, he was a polished actor, went to Juilliard. He was like, "Try our cheeseburgers. They're delicious. You're gonna love them." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." I did it. I hate reading in public. I'm like, "Hey, y'all, try our cheeseburgers. They delicious. They got what's that word? Pickles, ketchup. Oh, you gonna love it. Anyway, try it." The lady called me back. She was like, "Hey, they love you. Are you gonna take this gig? You have to be in Florida next week to shoot 5 commercials." I was like, "Well, I just got my job here, and I don't know if I can, just tell my boss I needed time off." And she was like, "Look, this is a spokesperson gig. You don't want to cancel this." And I called my mom because my mom was supposed to come that week too. And I said, "Hey, mom, listen, I know you're coming to LA. If I find somebody to look after you while you're here, would you be open to still coming?" She was like, "Absolutely." And she was like, "If you're scared to take the job, then why you move to LA?" And I was like, "You know what? Touche." So I had to have the conversation with my boss. So I said, "Hey, I'm like, Miss Mary, I kind of sort of booked an audition and I'll be the spokesperson for this restaurant. Can I take off next week to do this audition?" And this is the defining moment. This is the moment where I'm gonna stick with a 9 to 5 or I'm gonna trust what God put inside of me. And my boss was like, "Hey, I'm gonna just say this. You haven't been here long enough to even ask me that. But if you're not here Monday, you're fired."
Oh, wow.
She said, "If you're not here Monday, you're fired." And I remember that feeling, my stomach dropping, because we always talk about faith, but there's something about when that moment really happens, when you have to choose between what you know and what your spirit know, like that moment. And I remember I quit my job. and I went to Miami. I shot like 5 commercials, and that was like May of '06. And then I wound up doing Bill Bellamy's Who's Got Jokes, Last Comic Standing, and I have not worked a 9 to 5 since May of '06 because I trusted God in that moment. And I feel like I've had moments where I ate grits for every meal. I couldn't tell my parents because I was starving, but I felt like that was the moment where I was battle tested and God trusted me. And now it's like I literally do what I love.
And
I
now,
took 2 weeks off to my newborn, like just took 2 weeks off to because I can, you know?
right, right. And now you're coming back home this weekend. Was your family
Man,
going to be in the building at the Comedy House this weekend? I mean, I
crazy
know we're
family.
all family, so we're going to be there. But
Oh
your
man.
mommy, your daddy, are they coming through?
My crazy family gonna be there. You'll see my dad. He gonna be drunk and he gonna be overdressed like a pallbearer in the front row. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Do you pick on your family when they're in the
Oh,
comedy?
absolutely. Absolutely I do. They picked on me, I'm picking on them, and I get paid for it. So yeah, absolutely I pick on my family. But I'm very blessed to have a crazy, reckless, hilarious family because I feel like that was the ingredients in the boarding pass for me to become who I am.
Well, besides this weekend at the Comedy House, which I expect to see everybody out, we got to sell this out. This is for the home team. Even if you don't like comedy, it's some good wings and drinks there. And I'm sure he'll change your mind once you get in the building. We're also expected to see you on the big screen this year, right?
Absolutely. So I'm currently in a movie right now called 80 for Brady. It's a
That's the
really
old
dope
black
movie.
ladies in the NFL.
It's like Golden Girls and Girls Trip together, and they're going to see the Patriots when they played the Falcons. And I am in that movie. It's actually #2 at the box office, and this is my first theatrical release uh, acting gig. And I'm so happy because all the things are happening. Like I booked like 5 movies this year, and I'm currently on a show with MC Light called Partners in Rhyme. It's on WeTV, and to play MC Light's brother, like you only see somebody on TV, and now you're playing next to them in a TV show. It's crazy, like it's happening.
So, what's next for you? If you could write it down today and tell us what the next year of your life is going to look like outside of being a dad and an awesome husband, what would it be?
uh to have my own TV show. I have a development deal right now. I'm working out my own TV show. I'm writing it. Very specific nuance about my personal life right now that I love and I'm excited about. And then also, I want to be the best clean comedian of my generation. I want to do theaters, and I want to come back and do the Township and do what's the Colonial Center and perform in Columbia and just do theaters all over the country, man. So I could act during the week, be a good dad during the week, and then just perform on the weekends and take care of my family. That's my dream.
I'm looking forward to looking back at this next year or the year after. Now, when you get up there and you and EGOT and all the rest of that stuff, don't act like you don't know who I am.
Oh, I know you are. You got a ticket. I appreciate you even looking out for me. You got a ticket already. You better show up. It's gonna be
I'll,
great.
I'll be there.
So, I have so much great stuff going on in my life and my career. I actually have a short film that I did called Terry. It's about mental illness, and I go dumb in it. Like I'm the lead actor in it. It's about mental illness and being mad at God. And actually, the premiere is tonight. I'm going to the premiere tonight. But be sure to follow me, comedian Ron G, on everything. Comedian RONG. And follow me. Also, my wife, when she's back up because she just had my little one, we do something called Q&A with Babe, where we talk about our first year of marriage because our first year of marriage was in quarantine. And I feel like for this generation, podcast is destroying the black community. Everybody is worse than the crack epidemic because everybody is mad at each other. And I just feel like you got to find your one. Everybody talking about what all men doing or all women doing. Just find your one for you and figure out how they want to be loved and lean in, man. Because I believe that the toxic generation is over, and now it's time. You got to cooperate with the opposite sex to get the results you want. And I'm all a fan of love, man. I'm a fan of love, and it's a beautiful thing when it's done right. So don't get mad at them. Just choose better.
How hard is it to do it right?
There's nothing easy about anything in life. But I also believe there's a routine attached to greatness that most people don't want to do. Like marriage is not always fun. The process of becoming great in your craft, it's not always fun, but the routine of it is what refines and defines you, and you create culture in that moment to get the results you want. And so like me and my wife, our superpowers, we have a good time. Like we cut up all the time. Like there's never like even stuff that we're not supposed to talk about. Like we clown about it, and that's our superpower to help us get through these tough moments. And I heard you got married too as well.
Yes, just September.
Congrats to you. Congrats. Just remember to have fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember to have fun. Little love, little grace, and a little bit of amnesia. But also too, I feel like women, y'all connected to God. That's why that feminine energy is important. When you keep your heart soft, God be downloading you. Because a lot of times y'all be having the answers, but y'all tone me wrong.
Well, that
Y'all
part
told
too.
me y'all be having y'all bright lights on. You got to put a little orange juice on that thing because even with my wife, I told my wife, I said, look, you can't yell at me. Like I know that's how you don't yell at me because I can't protect you and protect myself. But if you talk kind to me, I'm never above correction and I'll always try to make it better. Like always try to make it better. And she adjusted, and that's why I married her literally because she showed me how to argue and feel loved. I never had that before. Like the first time we had a big argument, she was like, look, I'm just telling you how I feel. I'm not upset at you, but I love you, and held my arm and started looking straight. And I had to deal with my ego. And I was like, you know what? That's all my pride and ego because I wanted to say something, but she was absolutely right. And she showed me how to feel love even when we had a disagreement. And I never had that before. And so for men, we value peace and y'all value provision. You know what I'm saying? So if he provide for you, you're a little softer and you give him peace, he'll want to provide for you.
And I think when we feel safe, we want to provide peace. When we know we can be vulnerable and that this person that we're trusting with our heart is going to do the right thing with it. So I think that's when you find solid ground, when you can
Absolutely.
respect and honor one another and provide that peace and understanding. So there's no reason to think that you're in the house with the enemy.
Oh, absolutely. Because I feel like the enemy talks to you and whisper like he don't like you. He
Right.
trying to destroy you. Versus, you know what I'm saying? Like versus having goodwill towards your person. So during dating, that's the importance of creating goodwill. Like I know he's having a moment, but I know he still has my back, or I know he's not intentionally trying to hurt me. He just doesn't know any better. Because y'all think we stupid anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to have that. I call it goodwill to make sure you just assume your person means well, even though they're not perfect. Because we all trying to figure it out. Like everybody got secrets, and would you marry you if you knew your secrets? Probably not. But you
I
know,
wouldn't marry me if I knew my truths.
man, let me tell you something. People
Damn
meet
the secret.
strangers. They meet strangers, and I strongly believe you teach somebody how to love you, and you can't give power to somebody who didn't ask to have it and get mad at them because they mismanage your heart. Like you tell them what you need. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I told my wife, I said, just don't yell at me. Like that was my thing. Like I grew up in a household where everybody was loud. I'm an adult. Don't yell at me. I always got your back. You know what I'm saying? And now she has access to my heart. So if you find a man who want to come home and he give you access to his heart, don't yell at him, and also make sure he want to be home, and you don't have to sit in the parking lot and give himself a pep talk before he walk in the house.
No, that's right. Women do that anyway, and it's not because of y'all. Just FYI, we
I
just
know.
need
Yeah,
a little
y'all be on the
break.
phone.
We need a transition period between work and entering the house. We just need a transition. That's it. Got nothing to do with you. Don't take it personal.
That's so funny.